Have you ever found yourself attracted to someone who had just rejected you? Or perhaps someone who previously ignored you suddenly became interested when you lost interest in them? Did you know that one of the most successful marketing strategies is actually based on psychological manipulation? Or that even in romantic relationships, we often use tactics that are closer to business negotiations than romance? I will start today with a personal story. I remember when I was a teenager, there was a girl who was obviously infatuated with me and pursued me relentlessly. It was incredibly annoying. I felt suffocated and wanted to avoid her. But something changed when she gradually started paying attention to another guy. Suddenly, I found myself attracted to her. At the time, I didn't realize there was a psychological principle at play known as pursuit and withdrawal. It's a technique that goes beyond romance and is a powerful tool for control and manipulation used by individuals, corporations, and even governments. It works by targeting our emotions, creating a strong connection that makes us ignore our rational thoughts and act impulsively. Now let's defining pursuit and withdrawal. This is a psychological tactic where one person alternates between periods of intense attention and interest towards another person with periods of withdrawal and indifference. This creates a cycle of attraction and repulsion, which can be very effective in manipulating the other person's emotions and behavior. Imagine it as a kind of love game where one player constantly changes the rules. The roots of this technique can be traced back to ancient times. For instance, Roman emperors often employed this strategy in their dealings with barbarian tribes. They would offer gifts and alliances to appease their enemies, only to launch sudden attacks later to weaken their power. Another example of the skillful use of this strategy is the Vatican in its relations with secular rulers. Also known as the carrot and stick approach, this tactic proved to be extremely effective in consolidating the Pope's power and achieving political goals. One of the most striking examples is the confrontation between Pope Gregory VII and Emperor Henry IV. Gregory VII, an ambitious and strong-willed character, saw in this struggle an opportunity to assert the Church's supremacy over the state. He began by offering the carrot, forgiveness of sins and other spiritual privileges if Henry IV would relinquish his right to appoint bishops. When the emperor refused, the Pope drew out the stick, excommunicating him from the Church, which was equivalent to social death at that time. Henry IV, realizing the severity of the punishment, was forced to publicly humble himself before the Pope. Clad in rough clothing and barefoot, he spent 3 days outside the Pope's castle at Canossa, begging for forgiveness. This public humiliation was absolutely necessary for the excommunication to be lifted. The emperor's humility demonstrated the absolute power that the Pope held at that time, and how religious authority could be used as a powerful political weapon. A modern example of the use of the carrot and stick approach in politics is Greece. After the fall of the Iron Curtain, it was actively courted by the European Union. Promises of economic aid, investment, and accelerated integration created high expectations in the country. However, despite the initial enthusiasm, accession negotiations dragged on for years. New conditions were constantly added, creating a sense of uncertainty and pressure on Greek politicians and citizens. At the same time, the EU exerted pressure for deep reforms in the economy and public sector. Only after fulfilling numerous conditions and lengthy negotiations was Greece finally admitted to the great European family. This process of carrot and stick is a typical example of a strategy used to achieve political goals. Another example is during the trade war between China and the United States. Both sides used this method. For example, the United States imposed new tariffs and then offered temporary removal if China met certain conditions. China, in turn, promised to buy more U.S. goods, only to delay fulfilling its promises when the political environment changed. This tactic maintained tension and uncertainty in the global economy. Let's dive into the world of business. Remember the excitement surrounding the release of the new PlayStation 5 console? Companies often use a strategy to create anticipation and boost sales. Before the official launch, they release limited quantities to the market, creating a sense of scarcity and making gamers compete to buy it. This creates a sense of urgency and drives people to spend more money than they might have initially planned. And what about Black Friday? The idea of this big discount day was created in the United States in the mid-20th century to stimulate consumer interest after Thanksgiving. Stores create an artificial shortage of goods by offering huge discounts for a limited time. This makes people feel compelled to buy now because prices will go up later. Similar behavior is often observed on social media. Influencers and bloggers often post content that evokes strong emotions in their followers, and then pause to increase anticipation and engagement. The mechanism of action of this technique is based on several psychological principles. Uncertainty theory. When people are uncertain about the feelings of others, they tend to put more effort into winning them over. Limited time. When we have a limited time to make a decision, we are more likely to act impulsively. Contrast principle. When following a period of rejection, attention and recognition are perceived as even more valuable. Social proof. When we see that many people want something, we want it too. Fear of loss. When people are afraid of losing something, they are more likely to fight for it. But why is this strategy so effective? The answer lies deep in our biology and social nature. From an evolutionary standpoint, the ability to attract and retain partners has been key to the survival of our species. This innate tendency to seek closeness and fight for the attention of others is deeply embedded within us. Moreover, when something is inaccessible to us, it inevitably becomes more desirable. This is a basic psychological principle that marketers have used for centuries. Finally, from early childhood, we are taught to respond to social signals. When someone withdraws, our intuition prompts us to do everything possible to restore the connection. This cocktail of biology and social learning makes pursuit and withdrawal an extremely effective tactic. Our heart beats faster when the object of our desire moves away, and our brain fills with the chemistry of love and attachment. But how far are we willing to go in the name of this closeness? Where does the game of cat and mouse end and manipulation begin? The questions remain open, and the answers are hidden deep in the labyrinths of the human psyche. Are we willing to sacrifice a long-term happy relationship for the sake of short-term thrills? Or do we prefer to build relationships based on mutual respect and genuine closeness? And now the thing I promised you: how to protect yourself. Recognizing the signals. Identify the cyclical pattern. If you notice that your relationships with someone are characterized by constant changes in intensity and availability, this could be a sign of using this strategy. Pay attention to your emotional reaction. If you feel constantly on edge, insecure, or if your emotions swing from euphoria to despair, this could be a warning sign. Analyze the other person's actions. If the other person's actions do not match their words, or if there are frequent changes in plans and promises, this may indicate manipulation. Communication. Talk openly about your feelings and expectations. If you notice someone using this tactic, tell them clearly that you do not agree with this behavior. Set clear boundaries. Determine what you are willing to tolerate and what you are not. Be firm in defending your boundaries. Avoid making impulsive decisions. Give yourself time to consider the situation before making important decisions. Focus on yourself. Develop your self-esteem. When you have healthy self-esteem, you are less likely to be influenced by the manipulations of others. Build a strong social network. Surround yourself with people who support you and make you feel good about yourself. So, the next time you see a limited offer, a political campaign, or someone flirting with you in a bar, remember, you may have fallen into one of the oldest and most effective psychological games. So which fact blew your mind? Comment below and share your thoughts. Don't forget to follow for more cool facts. And if you're in the mood for more, click on the videos popping up right now. Until next time.